Hey everyone, Alec here from Reddit's Hex Encounter community. Thank you all for joining me again as I continue my playthrough of Where There Is Discord by Fifth Column Games. I'm sorry for the bit of a brief hiatus I've had on doing the streaming. We have recently, in terms of real time here, have had a number of major seasonal holidays, and so I've had a bit of an interruption to the streaming schedule due to those holidays, but at any rate, here we are. Looking forward to wrapping this play up in the next session or two, and we've got some great things in the works for you over the next couple. I hope to have an announcement here shortly regarding doing a stream of Mark Herman's Gettysburg, which was a new release from C3I magazine number 32. Additionally, I should be doing a stream of a couple streams of a solitaire playthrough of Space Core, a new design by John Butterfield, published by GMT, and hopefully maybe even do a multiplayer stream of that. So we've got a couple more coming up on the horizon. But when we left off our game of Where There Is Discord, we had just entered the morning of May 17th after having been harassed a bit by Argentine defenses, but nothing too substantial. We do still have two outstanding events that we are going to have to deal with. One US-based, Houston, we have a problem, and then the other one, we want this over by Christmas. So just as a reminder about the lasting effects of these events and how we get rid of them, we want this over by Christmas is essentially every day after 21 May that passes without the launch of Sutton, we will lose domestic opinion, one per day. Again, the day currently is the 17th, and we need to launch it by the planned launch date, or I'll start losing domestic opinion. Note that our domestic opinion is already precipitously low. The Houston We Have a Problem event is, let's see here. Right now we are taking no action. Which tells us that for every turn that we're on the board, the number of Argentine aircraft involved in each raid is increased by 1 to a maximum of 4. So we will get 1 additional Argentine aircraft based on them using commercial satellite intelligence. Potentially, we could pressure the United States to deny access to those assets. However, in doing so, lose 1 international opinion. But so for the moment, we're going to take that. I may or may not have missed adding 1 to those on the playthrough that we had done previously. Let me see if I can find a nice odd counter here to help remind us of that effect. Maybe that'll help. Just drop that right here. Okay. So those are our standing effects. And so now what we can do is we've advanced the turn marker on turn 17. So that's happened. We'll now do our weather phase. Weather in the game is determined on a roll of 2d6. So I'll go ahead and roll that. Roll the 7, which is a gray day. So we'll go ahead and place that there. That should give us absolutely no adjustment on any of the other game status effects. We'll now do the next event draw. Pull this up over here. Okay, number 4. There are commercial considerations. So event 4 tells us, okay. Let's see here. The President of the European Commission has privately warned the United Kingdom that member states are becoming increasingly concerned about the economic implications of the arms embargo. They are asking for a 24-hour ceasefire to explore a diplomatic settlement. Interestingly, this was all pre-EU and, of course, very much pre-Brexit. So, but here we are. Okay, so the first thing that we can do is we can accept the ceasefire request. Ceasefire has been introduced for 1 turn. International opinion rises by 1. Also, if domestic opinion is currently 4 or less, which it is not, the domestic opinion also rises by 1. British public, having been skeptical of the conduct of the war, welcomes a search for a peaceful request. The domestic opinion is currently 6 or more, also, which it is not. It falls by 1. Or We reject the ceasefire request and we lose 2 international opinion. All right, so let's see what we're doing here. If we accept the ceasefire, again, I believe essentially we are going to halt progress for the day. If I look here at the abridged sequence of play for a ceasefire turn, then we're going to find that, once I find this thing, let's see, it should be 17? Yeah, ceasefire. Okay, so we're not going to do a situation card. If we just do the turn marker, we do the opinion adjustment, we'll do any of the other adjustments and essentially flow and reinforcement. So it'll cost us a day. Where are we? I am currently on 12 here on the situation report, and we've got to burn down here. You see, actually we go through 13, 14, 15, 16, and then we'll finally be at Operation Sutton. So I actually have to get through 5 more productive turns to get to where I'm going. If we notice our turn track, 1, 2, 3, 4, as it is, I'm already facing the pressure from on my own parliament. I'm going to miss my window on starting Sutton on the 21st. No, actually, I'm sorry. If I don't have any more delays, I can get there on the 21st. The 17th would be a day of progress. So 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st. 21st would be the 5th day. So we could do it. But we can't have any more ceasefires. We can't have any more dwells or any more waits. So I think we press on. What that's going to do, international planes are going to fall by 2. And we are going to now lose the Chilean support. And so I'll just move that someplace else. So that's now no longer a thing. And we'll just remember that as we go through here. So no more help from the Chileans. The 17th is not a reinforcement day. All right, now I can go ahead and discard this. Okay, so now we'll do our sit rep. We will proceed. And noticing this sit rep, I'm sorry, we can actually discard number 12. Okay, so our sit rep now has us, let's see here. Air alert assessment is 5. We have a pretty even mix of forces, and the air assessment is high. Okay, so we're getting close enough where they're getting very uncomfortable, and they're going to be able to launch maximum of 3 sorties against us. So this could be pretty exciting. Task force deployment. All right. It having been 2 weeks or so since we've done this, let's head over to the actual sequence of play, make sure we're not missing anything. We have no reinforcement arrival. We'll skip that. British submarine placement. I seem to recall I've been pretty happy with their placements. Where do I have them? Okay, I have 3 submarines, 2 coastal, 1 search. I think it's fine. Task force display placement. I've got complete coverage. I've got some in the defense zone. I've got 2 ships here forward, 2 ships in each of the other forward quadrants, or octants, I guess. Pretty good there. Cap placement. All right, so I no longer have that deconfliction issue, which means that I can sortie Harriers from both ships if I need to. For the moment, though, I want to plan on still alternating, as that kind of helps me with the pacing. You do notice that we are 1 Harrier counter short on Hermes. We lost 1 in a previous air raid. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to take 4 of these, put them on cap. I'll have 2 on a ready reserve, and I want to send 2 forward to harass the interdict the supply. So most likely we're looking at the force coming in here on this main path. So I'll drop 2 there. I'm going to drop, let's see, 1 here in each of these other octants. All right, that'll be where the cap sits. I'll have some to react, and I'm going to do some interdiction, which should be coming up here pretty soon. Yep, supply interdiction. All right, so as a reminder, head to 15 on this rule. And what do we have? All right, so I will take 2 of these. They will do the interdiction effort. and we will roll 1d6 for each, and we're looking for a 1 or a 2 for it to be successful. So here is my 2d6 rolls. I did receive a 2, so we will decrement the supply marker by 1. And we will mark both of these as flown. Okay, excellent. Okay, and we have, SAS marker placement. So I can move, this actually might be even more critical. Now that I no longer have the Chileans providing me early warning, it's all going to be on that SAS team in addition to the Nimrods. So 1 and a 2, Trelu, 3 and a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So San, Julian, and Rio Gallegos are the 2 most likely. And so let's see, there's Rio, and there's San Julian. However, exosets would be coming here out of Rio Grande. It's big enough risk where I'm going to go ahead and keep the SAS where they are. Okay, so that should be the end of the task force deployment. And now that we've done that, we'll see the Argentine naval deployment. And looking over here, they all moved off map very recently. We do have 1 submarine in the ready for war box, but everyone else is off map based on the result of the naval actions from the previous turn. So making sure that we don't miss something here, I'm going to run through the process from chapter 13 of the rules with the submarine naval deployment. Let's see here. The start of each deployment phase, roll 3d6 for each available submarine in the Porto Belgrano box or at sea. And there's actually nothing there. So now at the end of this, we will move them from there to ready for war. So the submarine's not coming out yet, but it will be ready on a subsequent turn. So that's it for the Argentine submarines. We'll now take a look at the Argentine surface group readiness. And if you recall, the surface groups deployed and readied in 2 steps. The first of which was we roll a D4 for the patrol group, a D6 for the battle group, and a D8 for the carrier group. Noting that there is no more carrier group, we significantly damaged their carrier in the previous turn. So hence everyone else being at port. And so we'll roll a D4 and a D6. On a result of a 1, that group is ready and it'll be placed and ready for war. So here's my D4. Nope, and here's my D6. Okay, so the battle group is now ready for war. Now we would do the standard deployment rolls for anyone that is currently in port or at sea to figure out where they go. Once that's all been completed, this now comes here into port. So we'll have 2 naval units that could potentially sortie next turn, but for now they sit in port. Be nice if I could attack the ports, but I think that would probably be a little provocative. All right, so that should completely end the Argentine naval deployment, and also we are not going to have any sub-on-sub combat. We're not going to have any naval combat because there's no Argentine Navy put to sea yet. So that's going to go really quick. And now we're going to get to what's probably going to be a very exciting aspect of this turn, which is going to be scramble, surveillance, and early warning. We're going to probably have our hands full here. So let me flip to 5.1, which will help us start this process on Argentine air operations. And as we get into this, I'd just like to say, for those of you joining me, thank you for joining me live. I have chat open here on the stream. You can see it there. Please do chime in. Let me know that you're here, and let me know if you have any questions as we get going. Doesn't matter if you didn't watch the earlier games on the stream. Feel free to just say hi and let me know if you have any ideas or pointers. One thing I do on these streams is I'll ask you all for some help. I'm not, we'll get to a point where there's completely legitimate reasons to make one decision versus another, and we simply have to make one. And a lot of times I'll be happy to take your input on that. So, okay, so we're going to do the scramble roll now. And we're going to need to note the two things. The air alert assessment, that level 5 is going to form the basis of a target die roll. And then the air effort assessment is going to determine how many of these that we're going to be doing. So we'll look at the air alert assessment and we'll see that it's currently a 5 and we're going to roll our d10. So here's our first d10 roll against that. We rolled a 10, a hard 10. All right. So if we have no modifiers here since we don't have any weather going against us or any other card effects. So if the scramble roll is equal to or greater than the air alert assessment, which in this case it is, we rolled a 10 and the air alert assessment was a 5. Stand by. Then that's it. Today was not a day that they chose to have the war. Okay, and if that's the case, skip all the way to E and turn. All right, so playing a bit cautiously, the Argentine Air Force did not come forward. Hey there, Evil. Thanks for joining. Yes, this is the Solitaire Falklands game we're playing here, Where There's Discord. Monster of a game in terms of the physical product, but a complete vassal module. So feel free to follow along. Let's see here. We just dodged a bullet here on having a quiet day, despite being within range of pretty much every Argentine airbase. So I'll go ahead here and skip all the way to end turn for turn 17. And we are going to now clean up and move on to what will probably be a very punishing day 18. So, okay, Harrier recovery. We don't have any foul weather here, so the recovery is just going to happen. So we're going to take everybody that's currently flying and move them to flown. You'll pardon me as there we go. Flown, Control G. All right. So now that that's happened, I'll do the turns for the next day. This is the Harrier refit. These guys are now ready. These guys have flown. I'm sorry, are arming. All right. Remove the scramble marker. We have none. Remove the naval detection marker. We have none. Harrier, etc. All right, remove the weather marker. That was a quick turn for us. Things are probably going to slow down a little bit for us once we actually do launch Sutton. We lose some aspects of the sequence of play. We'll gain others. And of course, it's the end game of this whole process. So it's something that I've been a little bit less familiar with, having only gotten to it a few times. But okay, turn 17, done. Thank you. Turn 18, advanced turn marker. We will be getting reinforcements this turn. We still have these events staring at us, but let's see what we can get. Okay, weather on 2d6, 5. One trick here is I can just control 5 after lassoing these. It is a gray day, which is also what we get on a 7. So flipping that over, we see that it's no effect. All right. So nothing helping or hurting us for weather. I'll take it. And now we'll see what the event draw is for today. All right. The San Carlos event card. Interesting. I wonder if I should be seeing this or if that should have been removed. Let's take a look at what this event is. So it doesn't actually have an event number, which surprises me a little bit. Okay. Why am I seeing this? Interesting, because this event card doesn't have a number on it. So the way that this is actually laid out, for those of you that are curious, the key to how to resolve the events is in a small booklet called the Intelligence Briefing Booklet that is keyed. And so the previous event, like you can see event 13 up there, I would turn to page 13 of the book and just simply resolve the event. Here, where there would be a number, there actually isn't a number, which is a little disconcerting. So I'm just going to have to kind of, I don't know if that, I can look in the actual game to see if that's how it is in the print version, or if this is simply an artifact of the Vassal module, but I'm simply leafing through the book, trying to find the appropriate event. Wondering if this is either perhaps something that is intended for the second half of the game when we're actually on the island, or if this is something that Shoot, I am not seeing that at all. All right, let me take a look in the rule book real quick and see what the heck this thing is. So looking at setup, let's see here, the event deck, shuffle the event deck and place it down next to the board. Well, that doesn't tell me to pull anything out of it, so I am inclined to believe that these should be in there. This is the other time when it's actually pretty nice to have someone in chat on Discord. So, Evil, if you wanted to hop on Board Game Geek and look at this event card and figure out what the heck I'm supposed to... Oh, dude, that'd be great. So, looking over at the task force display, there is a display section for San Carlos. The cards... Those are situation report cards, operation setting card. Oh, yeah, chapter 2 situation report cards. All right, well, let me continue to get here to the event cards. This is not making for terribly good radio here, folks. I apologize for the 16 is the section of the rule book, so let me go to the right one here. Here we go. All right. If the event card is a San Carlos card, it is resolved in the following way. Whew, okay, found it. There's just actually a section of the rule book that governs how to do this. Okay. On the turn you decide to launch a San Carlos landing, immediately after the placement of the Sutton marker, you may choose to conduct reconnaissance of the landing zones. To conduct reconnaissance, pick one or more of the warships, and place them on any San Carlos event cards that are currently face down on the board. They have been dispatched and are directing survey of waters around the area. Next, roll the d8 for each vessel on the card. On a roll of 1, the vessel is intercepted in some manner and destroyed. The landings have suffered their first casualties. Remove them from the board. Once the die rolls have been completed, remove the surviving vessels, place them back on the turn track. This indicates that they can rejoin the task force later. They have successfully completed their reconnaissance. Now place the 5 San Carlos event markers in a container and randomly draw one, etc. Okay, so it looks like all the Operation Sutton event cards. Yeah, so at the start of the turn, draw one event card. It will be either a standard event card or a San Carlos event card. If the event card drawn is San Carlos, place it face down on the board. Done. Okay, so right now this is nothing for us, and let me park this, I guess, over here, maybe? Okay, so that's a San Carlos card. We will get to that later. Sit rep. All right, we will indeed continue to press in. Our current sit rep here has error alert assessment of 6, so even more likely to generate an attack, and high AA again. So we are getting closer. Okay, task force deployment. Following the deployment sequence of play, reinforcements. We do actually have reinforcements this turn. This is the 18th, so we'll take a look at the reinforcements, and we see that on the 18th, I do get 2 T-21, what are these, frigates? Let's take a look at what the T-21 does and where I might want to park this guy. So the T-21, there it is, has the Seacat missile, rather respectable, no Seawolf, but it's still a respectable missile at moderate to short range. Kind of a crummy radar lock number. Okay, so this guy is essentially going to help on lobbing missiles at something, you know, effectively. So let me move him over. Why is my trackpad being so strange? Oh, because I'm already on the corner. All right, so let's see here. What do I have in the nucleus here? I do have 1 escort T-22 and my 2 carriers. We've got 1 in the defense zone. We've got 2 here in west. Let me put a third one here in west. Let me give another to 5, and we'll call that a deployment. Okay, so there are reinforcements. Submarines, I'm happy where they are. Task force, the rest of the task force, I'm happy. We get to put a cap out now. I've got 6 Harriers, and let's see here. I could really I have 8 if I want them. So those 2 there will be my reserve. I will deploy 4 as I had done previously, and with 2 on interdiction. So of these 4, I'm going to place Trident Leader and Trident 2 here in west. Have these guys splitting between 6 and 8. So there they are. Okay, so that's the cap placement. Supply interdiction, we'll fly these 2 on supply interdiction missions, rolling 2d6, looking for a 1 or a 2 on either die. I did get a 1, so we continue to successfully interdict the Argentine forces. They're now down to 3 on supply, and you are now flown. All right. And that concludes task force deployment. I want to keep the SAS marker where they are. Again, I want to keep an eye on those exocets. All right, Argentine naval deployment. This starts with the submarines. And I do actually have a submarine, a single submarine now that's eligible to deploy. Referring to how this goes, I will roll 3d4 for each submarine and count the 1s to figure out where it goes. So there's a single Argentine sub in port, and I will roll my 3d4. And again, I indeed did get a single 1. So this will come out in its coastal waters, staring at my 2 subs, which is kind of where I like it. Next, we will see if the patrol decides to ready itself. To check on this readiness, we will roll a d4, and on a result of a 1, it is ready. It is not. And now we'll see if the battle group that's currently in port sorties from port. So that's 3d6 and looking for any number of 1s. A single 1. So the battle group also is present in the coastal waters. So we will be resolving naval combat this round before we get to the other combat. So, all right. That should be the entirety of the Argentine naval deployment. And now we'll go on sub v sub combat. Okay. So first we'll do the British submarine search roll. Okay. For searches in the coastal areas, British submarines detect Argentine submarines on a roll of a d6 on a 1. Okay, I'm looking a little bit more explicitly at this procedure to make sure that I don't miss anything. Let's see here. Okay, so for each British submarine in a contested box, roll 1 die of the value indicated on the chart, cross-referencing, and on a 1 it happens. So a British submarine attempting to detect an Argentine submarine in the search zone would roll a d8, and the coastals will run a d6. So this is going to be rolled with 2d6, 1 for each of these submarines, and on a 1, we have found the Argentine submarine. We have found the Argentine submarine. So I am now able to take a single, move them to the combat mat. The Argentine submarine and a single British submarine are now brought here to combat. And we'll resolve the combat. For each one rolled, 1 Argentine submarine has been detected. Place a detected submarine and a detecting British submarine on the map. Your choice. Okay. So we now attack. Looking at the player aid for this attack, the British submarines successfully attack an Argentine submarine on a roll of a 1 on a d6. So we'll go ahead and roll the d6. Success. Okay. So now that we've successfully done that, let's see here. If 1 is rolled, the Argentine submarine is destroyed. Remove it permanently from the game. If any other number is rolled, it escapes. So let's go ahead and permanently remove this submarine. We have completely destroyed the Argentine naval submarine forces. Quite an accomplishment. Makes me feel a lot more comfortable. We will rotate this all the way around so that we know that we can't use him to go after that surface battle group. And if we all recall, that there was another procedure to go through when you actually did sink something. There was a, let's see if we can find that real quick. Essentially, when a vessel is destroyed, here we go, combat losses. Argentine submarine losses. At the end of any turn in which an Argentine submarine is lost, at the end of any turn, all Argentine task groups are placed off board. Okay, yep, so they all get scared back into port. There will be political impact of Argentine losses. The impact on the war opinion is dependent on where it happens. In the search box, if an Argentine submarine is sunk in the search box, and no British forces have been sunk, international opinion will fall, but we have lost forces. If domestic opinion is 4 or less, and we are higher than that, and we sink them, all right, let's see. Okay, so, actually, that's in the search box. The coastal box. An Argentine task group of submarines sunk in the coastal box, and no British vessels have been sunk. That doesn't apply. In addition, if domestic opinion is currently 4 or less, doesn't apply. Okay, so it looks like there would be no political impact here. No changes, nothing. Okay, so we will be sure to push these surface group back into port at the end of this due to the loss of that submarine, but for now, that's done. So British sub versus Argentine surface combat at this point. Looking at this detection play aid, we are in the coastal region, and our submarine is looking for a surface unit. So I only have one of those available since the other one has chased its quarry this turn. So this will be a 1 on a roll of a d4. It's easier for them to detect surface vessels. And lo and behold, they have a successful detection. So we will move these in. Okay. Oh, this is, now I got to go back to the book again. For combat, this is also going to be a d4. So I'm just going to make sure that I do this by the book on this. We will have the rules of engagement, which we will have satisfied already due to the losses already on hand. Okay. Roll of 1 means detected. Place them on the mat as normal. If no British vessels or Argentine vessels have been sunk so far, then you must do a rules of engagement roll. We do not need to do that since we have had losses. Continue with any attacks that you have been authorized or that occur within the exclusion box in the normal way. And then hit Argentine counters are permanently removed from play. Okay, so this is a roll of a d4. Nope, no dice. All right, so it's unsuccessful. We have a handy-dandy you messed up chart here. So British sub versus Argentine vessels. I will roll 2d6 to figure out what happens here. I rolled a 6. Target changes course away from the task force. The submarine captain postpones the attack. Course change proves temporary. Argentine vessel return to originating naval patrol box, which functionally just means here that he is able to do his own combat this turn. So that's more regrettable. Argentine surface groups versus British sub combat. Okay, so in this procedure, here we go. Looking at this battle group in the coastal region, it detects a submarine on a d6. So we'll just go ahead and roll that detection real quick. And it does not detect, so it does not engage our submarines. But now it has a chance to engage our task force. And so from the coastal region, this type of task force actually only detects us on a D10. These ships have less powerful radars, the lookouts are farther away from any screening ships of the British fleet. They're going to be less likely to see something than if they were pushing much further out from the Argentine coast. So we'll roll our D10. They don't find anything. So for all of their bluster, the Argentine Navy didn't do well. And like we had said previously, they go all the way off board now, given the loss of that submarine. Okay, so scramble, surveillance, and early warning. We'll come here now and note that now the error alert assessment is a 6, so we'll roll a d10. On a low roll, we will go into some combat. That roll is certainly going to be low enough. So flipping to, I believe it's 5. Now that we've done the scramble roll. So chapter 5, there we go. So now that that's happened, we have a successful scramble, and we will note that we now actually have a raid if I have those counters. Let's see if I do. Nope, that's fine. Oh, we can put there. There we go. Okay. So we do have a raid. We'll note 2 things. 1, I lost the Chilean support, so this detection is going to be a little bit harder. And we'll also note this little mnemonic I had here that they are going to have 1 additional aircraft due to the support of commercial imagery from satellites. I might want to eat the international opinion here shortly and get rid of that. Okay. So moving on, now that we have a raid, we will do our early warning. Okay. So after the air tasking roll has been conducted, we proceed to the surveillance in one of the 4 ways. First, we check to see if the raid has been detected via signals intelligent intercepted by the Nimrod aircraft. In this case, the Nimrods provide the task force pretty much everything, okay? And now once we lose ascension down at International Opinion 2, we don't get to do this. So we'll roll a d6. On a 1 or a 2, we have everything we need. A 3. So the Nimrods are not helpful to us. Okay, well, so now that we've done that, the Nimrods are not on station, so now we'll get to see if the SAS marker is present at the airbase just selected. Oh, I suppose we actually have to select an airbase, don't we? All right, let me just make sure that I didn't skip something. Oh, I did actually. So the airbase that we're going to be getting, this is actually the last step of the scramble roll. We'll roll a d10 to figure out what the airbase was. So I've already messed up the Nimrod roll, so we'll call that a lost roll, or rather lost. I rolled a 9 on the airbase tasking roll. So looking here at the key, a 9 corresponds to Rio Gallegos. I'll move this marker there. Here we go. Okay, so this is who we are getting. We're getting the Skyhawks from Rio Gallegos. Okay. Place the raid marker, etc. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can. The SAS are not going to be able to help us. They are actually at the wrong base. And so given that we don't have the Chilean government help on surveillance and early warning from their territory, we get nothing there. And so we're actually now on the worst side of all of this. If the Nimrod, SAS, and Chilean surveillance are all unavailable, there is no Harrier scramble then. The task force has been taken by surprise due to the lack of early warning capability. That stinks. Do a squadron attack roll and do the air targeting roll. Okay, so the squadron attack roll, shown in 6.2.1.1. Here we go. So examine the squadron attack table. Flip over to the correct table for this. There we go, squadron attack table. And roll a d10. The result will reveal how many Argentine aircraft will form the current raid, and it's called the squadron attack roll. There are 2 possible results. One is if the international arms embargo is still in force, and the other is if it's been lifted. Okay, and so we still have the arms embargo. We've not lifted it. So I will be rolling a d10 and consulting the arms embargo table. Okay, I rolled a 2, which says 1 aircraft. However, due to the situation, the satellite imagery, we're actually going to see 2 aircraft from here. So let me grab 2 of these Skyhawks and I'll move them down to their display just to have them parked someplace. Okay. So we've done the squadron attack roll outlined above. Now we'll do an air targeting roll, which is 8. And again, we're getting to the problems a little bit with the nonlinearity of this manual, but we'll go ahead and just press on through it. Okay, so we'll roll 2d6 and comparing the result rolled to the numbers on the squadron display. Okay, so I rolled a 6. And this is the air targeting roll. Identifies where they plan to attack. All the ships in that zone are now target vessels. Okay, so we should check the target zone, which again is zone 6 down here. If it currently contains Harriers or British surface vessels, if it does, place the air alert marker in the target zone to remind you of where the task force attack is occurring from. Let's see. Presumably, I have some of these markers somewhere. Well, we'll just drop, unless it's floating around here somewhere. I guess this is akin to me having lost a marker under the table or something. Is there one over here? 10 miles, Harriers. Oh, wait. Oh, hey, there's our sortie markers. All right, so there's the sortie level 1. This is their first sortie. Get rid of you. There's probably an air alert marker I'm missing. Well, I will, again, make do and use something. So 6 is where the attack is coming in. The target zone is empty, etc. Okay, so we have the zone that we are targeting. If there are now Harriers present in the target zone, proceed to air-to-air combat segment of the air phase. If there are no Harriers, then air to surface. Okay. So the air-to-air segment is Chapter 9, air-to-air combat, and we'll go ahead and run through that. Air-to-air combat is done the following way. Look at see what type of Argentine aircraft are engaged in the attack in the task force, and then we will roll the target lock die for each attacking aircraft. These being Skyhawks, they will roll d6s. Let me go ahead and move down this guy. Okay. So I have 2 Skyhawks, and they're essentially trying to see if they can get a bead on the Harriers to engage them. Okay, so we're going to be rolling d6s. And if we flip over the counters, a lot of this is back printed. So here we see that 6. Okay. This is called the target lock roll. Actually, no, so I'm sorry. This is us trying to get a lock on these aircraft. I see. So these are slightly smaller aircraft, but not too small. Okay. So this is the target lock roll represents the British attempt to get their weapon system fixed on the incoming aircraft. After the first roll, place a target lock marker equivalent to the number just rolled in the target lock box on the combat display below the 1st Argentine Air Force, and place. All right, so yeah, this is going to generate essentially target numbers for us. So, I have 2 attacking aircraft. I rolled 2 3s for my target lock. So here is my 3 target lock, and both of them actually go in there since I rolled it twice. All right, now each Harrier may now open fire on their targets. So I'll be rolling a d6, and on a roll of a 3, I actually will destroy both of those aircraft. On anything other than a 3, I do not. So I'll go ahead and roll 1 d6 for my 1 attacking aircraft. If the international plane is 3 or more, then we have access to the AIM-9L, and I'll roll 2 dice for each area engaging. Okay, so that's nice. I'll be rolling 2 d6 here. Okay. So I'll go ahead and roll my 2d6. Rolled a 2 and a 6. Neither of those numbers are the right ones. So now both of these are surviving aircraft, so they get a chance to fight back. Actually, no, I'm sorry. These Skyhawks do not. You'll notice that they have air-to-surface capability only. So my Harriers were not at risk there. Okay. All right. So they will not be returning fire. And they essentially have evaded the Harrier patrols. However, now that this Harrier is engaged, he now moves to flown, and now these folks are still here available to do their coming in towards the task force. So now that they've evaded the Harrier cap, it's going to be up to the surface forces, to surface combatants, to stop them. Okay. So we must rely now on the ship-based defenses. So heading back to what we were doing on this combat, we'll now move to 11, which is the surface-to-air segment of the game. Okay, so air-to-surface combat. For clarity, let me bring both of these guys down here. Now I've got them. There we are. Oops. So what do we have? We've got two naval vessels that are in engagement range. One of these T-21s, the HMS Ardent, and the previous T-22, the HMS Brilliant. Okay, so air-to-surface combat is conducted in the following way. Place all target vessels in an opaque container. Oh boy, okay, so never mind. So these guys are now going to each get dropped here. I am doing air... No, wait. This is air-to-surface combat. Do I not get surface-to-air combat? Let me just double-check that. Yep, I definitely feel like I get a crack at them here on surface-to-air combat. Let's take a look here. Okay. We've covered the air-to-air, got British air operations, surveillance early warnings. Well, you know, perhaps this is actually deliberate, given that this is a complete surprise. So perhaps they came in under radar entirely here. This would be an interesting way of interpreting this. Let's see. Well, following rule 6.2.5 literally, we did the air-to-air segment because there were Harriers there. And that was completed. So having done 9, that's rule 9. Let's see here. The next segment here is having evaded the Harriers, the surviving Argentine aircrafts are closing on their targets. The task force must now rely on ship-based defenses. Efforts by the Royal Navy to protect itself from the approaching threats are conducted in the surface-to-air segment of the air-faced, whilst combat itself. Oh, I see. Okay. So let me stick to the sequence of play here. We've done the air-to-air combat. Here we go. Now we get the surface-to-air combat. Okay. And here I was all worried that I was missing something. So, conducting surface-to-air combat, we do that in 10. Got it. All right, we are good. Let me come back here. This is going to be conducted very similarly to the air-to-air segment that we had just done. I'll get the air combat chart here. Again, we've got T-21 and T-22s. The T-22 uses the Sea Wolf missile, a very capable short-end missile. T-21 uses the Sea Cat, a somewhat less capable missile. Okay, so the procedure is as follows. Up to 4 combat rounds. Each round passes the range between attacking aircraft and targets closes rapidly, 30, 20, 10, and 1 mile respectively. This directly affects the ability of various shipboard weapons to engage and track. So we'll do at the starting range. At the start of the combat round, we'll place the 30-mile marker here in the range. Okay. And that's how far away we are. And then we will take a look at radar locks. And so the radar lock number of the T-22 is a 3, and the T-21 is a 3. Oh boy, these are both pretty miserable numbers. So I get to roll a D10 on a 3 or less. I actually get a lock. So we choose one vessel to attempt this this lock on. Okay. So I have a vessel, either one. I'm going to roll a D10 at 30 miles, and I rolled a 10. So it does not see it at all. So the system failed to detect the target. I'm going to skip ahead here to what is going to likely be a range adjustment step. Here we go. We decrease the range marker. Yep, and then we'll just cycle through this. Okay, so at 30 miles, the sea-based radars at this point in the formation failed to see it. At 20 miles, again, the same target number, 3 or less. We fail to see it. At 10 miles, 5, we fail to see it. At 1 mile, right on top of these ships, we fail to see it. So this pair of Skyhawks were in a tight little formation, low to the sea clutter. They were not seen at all as they approached the two unsuspecting frigates, and without any warning from a Nimrod or a special operations team, and with the loss of the early warning radars being provided from Chile, this is just going to be a bad day. So we're now going to go here properly, now that surface air combat was ineffective, to air to surface combat, or the bomb run. Okay, so now we will do this thing that I discussed, where we will take the cup and we will randomly determine which of these guys is going to be attacked. Okay, so we'll draw one vessel randomly. Okay, there's the target. Zoom in a little bit here so we can get a clearer view of it. The combat display, the Brilliant. This is the target with the current attack. And we will have one Skyhawk attacking it. All right, so the Argentine aircraft now engages we'll now engage the target, and depending on the attacker, we'll get a different hit. So on a dagger, this is going to be a D10 with a 1 being a hit. So we'll roll our D10. We rolled a 6. It was not a hit, which means that this Skyhawk now returns to his base. And this is now returned to his task force display here in Southwest. Okay, so that was the first attack. And there are additional raiding aircraft. There's one more, so we'll pull out the next target. And so this remaining one is going for the Ardent. Again, he hits on a D10 and he misses as well. So we had a largely ineffectual attack there by really everyone. Nobody was able to get into anything, and that, as they say, is that. Okay. Zoom back out so we can see what we're doing. This was the first of the potential sorties. We're calling with this high AEA number, we can actually get to 2 more. So we'll roll another error alert assessment now, and cycle back around to the scramble, surveillance, and early warning. So let's see if they end up scrambling another one. D10. They are looking for a low number, and they certainly have it. So cycling back to the start of that, we will now task a base with this, rolling a D10. Okay, base task is 2, which is Trelu, where the Canberras are. We'll increment the sortie from 1 to 2. We now have our second sortie. And Trelu is the one that is coming at us. Again, not able of damaging the Harriers. Okay. All right, so what we have now is the early warning effects. So we'll see if the Nimrods were at the appropriate station to see these guys coming in. And given that these are the size of barn doors, hopefully they were. This is going to be a roll of a D6, looking at a 1 or a 2, or so effectively a D3. So we'll go ahead and roll that D6. Of course not. SAS misses them. They weren't there at all. And so yet again, we're going to have another surprise attack due to poor situational awareness. Looking at the appropriate squadron attack table, we are going to have, let's see here, we are still under an arms embargo. We'll roll our D10. Ooh, big number. That's 4 aircraft. So that's pretty much everybody. So big, geez. Let's see where these guys are coming into as well. Roll 2d6, going into 8, which is right up here. And we do have one of our Harriers. Unfortunately, we couldn't scramble anyone because nobody knew they were coming. So we've done that. We'll now go into the air combat. Looking at the air combat table, what do we have here? Hopefully, this guy's going to be able to get one of them. This is a 4. So let me roll 4d4 to get all these guys their numbers. 2, 3, 3. Man. Is it just me, or is the random number generator in Vassal not always so random? Share your thoughts in the comments, or in chat, please. Okay, so hopefully I can roll a 3 here. Again, I've got the all aspect, aim 9s, so we'll go ahead and roll this. Let me just take a peek again at my sequence of play, make sure I'm not missing anything. I've got the air-based tasking, raid marker, no early warning, no Harrier scramble. We did their targeting, we've got their marker, air-to-air combat, that's the lock and acquisition. So now we're going to do the firing roll. This is going to be rolling 2d4. Okay, now for all the good these Harriers are doing. Get to go home now. And air-to-air combat has been completed. No reciprocal combat, given that these are bombers only. These caps are not proving to be very useful. Maybe I just don't have enough up. Actually, it would be really useful if I could scramble the 2 remaining flights of off of the Hermes, but that seems to not be happening. Okay, so now we're going to do surface-to-air combat. Let me pull down, get these target lock numbers back to someplace else. Okay, the 2 ships here. Now what do we have? We have, again, zoom in on the action. All right, we have, it's a little close, the T-24 type destroyer HMS Glasgow, and we've got the leader class frigate HMS Argonaut. Okay, I suspect that these are somewhat more capable, and I might want to split these in a subsequent turn. So the leader class is a Seacat, decent missiles, and a pretty good 5 radar. And the Glasgow T-42 has an even better radar and long-range Sea Dart missiles. So yeah, so this is going to be great. All right, so we'll run this process now. So surface to air combat. Range marker placement, we'll start here at 30 miles. Radar lock acquisition rolls, we'll use the 6 number, which is pretty much as good as we can get here from the T-42, rolling a D10. Hey, look at that, we've got them. So, let's see, 10.2.2 is the roll that we're looking for. Okay, radar lock. Radar lock has been achieved. All Royal Naval vessels that have not already fired are now free to engage the attackers. Remember, only one vessel has to achieve a radar lock and for all to fire their weapons. So given that this is actually the maximum range of the Sea Dart weapon system, I may want to let this guy close in closer to 10 miles before I fire. The only thing I have to check is if I stand the potential to lose the radar lock if I let him come in a little bit. One thing to note is that these these ships can only fire once per raid. So I do have to keep in mind that if I fire early, it's going to be my only time of firing. Okay, so I will have to reestablish a radar lock, it looks like, back here at the start of this procedure, which I think I'm okay with, actually. You know, that 6 is means I've got a 60% chance of doing it, which means a 40% chance of failing, which means the chance of me failing on both of the next rounds is only 16%. So I think I want to do it. I think I want to hold this round, let him close at 20 miles. If I get him now or the next one, I'm gonna do it. So we're gonna close at 20 miles. I'm gonna check again, make sure I still have the radar lock. So I'll roll a D10. Roll a 7. That's bad. All right, gonna let him close at 10 miles. Roll a D10. Oh, all right. Well, damn it. Close to 1 mile. Roll a D10. All right, finally got him back down here at 1 mile. The Sea Dart is now ineffective. It's too close of a range for it to happen. However, from the leader class HMS Argonaut there, I do have a Seacat missile which I can use. So that system works on a D6. So let's see here, what do I have? Lower the radar, the more effective the system. We've got that. All right, so vessels can fire once per raid. We have the one ship that's going to be firing. Secure target lock, which is like we do with air-to-air combat, looking at the relevant range of the missile, and roll that number. So we're going to roll the number here for the Seacat at this range is a D6. So I'm going to roll 4D6. And I see 1144. So I'll go ahead and target lock number 1 here. Target lock number 4 here. Okay. Now roll. All right, we did that. Now that the target lock's been secured, we now get to fire the missiles. The missiles are now coming up out of their silos and off of their rails. For each vessel firing, you should roll 1 die, the same value as the range indicator. So unlike the Sidewinders, we only get to roll 1 here. All right, so here we go, D4. Roll the 4. All right, so that's going to, let's see here. So all these aircraft effectively abort, are destroyed, or damaged, and they return to port. And the frigate has done its job. We now get to do the bombing phase, however. Okay, so air-to-surface combat, we will follow our typical procedure here, and we have 2 ships. We have 2 bombers, so we could resolve this in either order, but one is going to get one, the other is going to get the other. The Canberra rolls a d12 for its attack, and it hits on a 1, so we'll roll the first d12, fails, second d12, fails. Okay, so thankfully, again, the surface air missiles did their jobs a bit, but could have done a little bit better. Okay, so that was air to surface combat in the bombing run. Okay, and so now what we're going to go is we're going to go back to scramble, surveillance, and early warning, and we're going to see if we get our 3rd one or not. So this is a D10, looking for a big number so that we can be done with getting shot at. 5, okay, well, here we go again. We will get our 3rd and final raid, and the base that is generating this is number 2. It's going to be Trelu again. So we're going to see more of these Canberras. So this is our 3rd and final sortie. We're going to get some more of these guys. Let me make sure that we're doing this in somewhat the right order. 3rd time's the charm. We'll get it right here eventually. Okay, so we've got our airbase tasking roll. Raid marker placement. 516, one of the things. Okay. Oh, right, I've done that. Okay, so this is our 3rd raid. Got that? Yes, okay. And we're going to be getting some of these here out of Trelu. All right, so let's see if we get lucky here. Nimrods. I roll a d6 on 1 or a 2. At some point, a Nimrod's going to help me. I don't get any SAS, so again, this is a complete surprise. All right, well, that's awesome. So we won't get any scrambles. Excuse me. All right. So we'll do their targeting roll. I probably should have done that previously, but that's fine. They are targeting 9. Good to figure out how many of those. Okay, so that's the main area here. And I'll send these guys to the combat display if I can. Nope, just grab them. Okay, and let's see. We'll figure out how many of them that we get here. Is the target one? Yeah. All right. So rolling our d10, they're still under embargo. That's a roll of an 8. An 8 would be 3 aircraft. However, with the benefit of this surveillance that they have, this is again all 4 of them. So another full set of Canberras. This is what they've been saving up for here. All right. So that is their targeting. We've got them coming in. We'll now get into air-to-air combat. Now I'm hopeful, given the fact that they're flying against a much stronger set of Harriers. Harrier target lock acquisition rolls. These guys are kind of like flying barn doors out of 4. So I'll roll my 4d4 to figure out what numbers I get. 3, 3, 3. Are you kidding me? Well, the good news is I roll a 3 and I got them all. But all of them come under target lock number 3. And now we'll do our firing roll. So the benefit here is not only do I get the 2 dice per shooter, I actually also have 2 shooters. So let me just verify that. Yeah, each Harrier in the target zone may now open fire. Roll 2 dice for each Harrier engaging. So this will be 4d4 on for these 2 Harriers engaging. So here's the first 2d4 and another 2d4. Okay, could someone please, if anyone from Vassal is watching, I don't know if I buy that 8d4 gets me 3 7 times. I know statistically speaking that could happen. That's just a rather unlikely occurrence. But good news for us is that the Sidewinders all have their effect. And this later group doesn't get anywhere near the formation. So we'll now return these to flown. Okay, done. That will be the absolute end of air-to-air combat. There's nothing else to come at us. And so now that will skip us from the air-to-air combat phase all the way to end turn. And that will be that. Okay. I already got rid of the Navy where they weren't supposed to be. Yes, good. So now let's just do the rest of these. Let's do the rest of these actions. All right, so Harrier recovery. Actually, everyone that had been placed on cap is already back. So we've got that. Now we'll do the regeneration. So I'll get these guys ready. Move these guys to arming. Okay. Scramble. Yeah, I'll go ahead and move this. Move the sorting marker back to where it needs to be. Get rid of the weathered marker. Get the target lock back where it's supposed to be. What else do we have to move? Oh, subs. Subs will flip. Back, not flip. Rotate and flip. Okay. All right, so we're good on in-turn effects. So now turn 19, another reinforcement turn, and we are getting closer by the day to launching Operation Sutton. Weather, 2d6 is a 5, still a gray day. Okay, good. So no effects there. Event draw. 15, there's a bear in the air. Something tells me, as with nearly all of these events, this can't be good for me. All right. Combat Air Patrol reports that Soviet surveillance aircraft are encroaching closer to your task force. We may warn the Soviet Union that any aircraft within surveillance radius of the fleet may be mistaken for a hostile aircraft, and your government must accept full responsibility for any unfortunate incidents that may occur. Air national opinion falls by 1. The Soviets do not wish to provoke an armed confrontation and withdraw the aircraft, but not to take kindly to being presented with an ultimatum. Or we can take no action. This event card remains face up on the board. For every turn it remains on the board, we roll a d10 at the conclusion of the turn in which Argentine air units have launched an attack on the task force. On a roll of 1, a Russian Tupolev Tu-95 is struck in midair by a stray missile of unknown origin. Despite severe damage, the crew managed to nurse their crippled aircraft to a safe landing and Rio Grande Air Base. The Soviet Union reacts, condemning this act of war perpetrated by the armed forces of the United Kingdom and threatens harsh retaliation against further unprovoked attacks. International opinion falls by 2. Domestic opinion falls by 1. The event is then discarded. Russians cancel their surveillance operations, but the damage to international opinion is done. It may also be discarded if and when you issue the warning presented in the case. So at any point here, we can say, get out of here, take the loss of the international opinion, or let it ride and, risk, have a 1 in 10 chance of anytime there's air action of having something pretty bad happening. Let me take a look here and just verify what happens. Here at 6, we see 6 here. We have the Soviet satellite marker, and I'm just wondering about international opinion. That's the domestic opinion marker. Let's see here. Here we go. So at 9 to 10, which we had been at, we're solid at opinion level 8. The South America shift supports when we lose Chile. Once we hit 6, we lose support of the Eastern Bloc, and Soviet satellite imagery is made available to the Argentines. Add 1 to the aircraft attacking the raid, up to a maximum of 4. Okay, so we can look up the clarification here on 4.2 and event 13 on if they stack. That might be errated or that might be clarified. My guess is that it's just simply clarified. I would think that they would stack, but let's just double check here. Because if we're going to be getting 2 additional aircraft, 1 from each event, that's not something I'm particularly interested in. Yeah, so if international opinion is 6 or less, then additional aircraft due to the loss of support will be in addition to the extra aircraft from this event. So a maximum race height still a 4. So we're going to lose some international opinion here. And if we let the event, let me not completely confuse myself here on what we've got going. Yeah, so if international opinion falls by us spiting the Soviets to get this reconnaissance aircraft out of the way, then they'll just directly provide satellite imagery to the Argentines, and we're going to end up with a big mess on our hands with lots of fighters at each time. If we let it ride, then we just run the risk of a pretty severe international incident and having international opinion plummet precipitously. Although, interestingly, we won't really run any detrimental effect of having this bear pacing the formation, actually. I say we let it ride. Evil, I don't know if you're still around and if you've got an opinion here or anyone else is on the stream. If you are, please do feel free to chime in. But yeah, alternatively, what happens if I just at this point throw away that event 13? International opinion would fall by 1, so it'll be an even trade here. Essentially, they'd lose the American imagery but gain the Soviet imagery. We really can't win. Okay, I'm going to let it all happen. We will have all of the events. Okay. All right, so new sit rep card. We will press closer. 14. Now we're on to 15. We'll take a look here. Okay, this is interesting. We are now at very high AEA. They're going to send up to 4 sorties if they can. Still alert level 6. Trelu is now a much more remote possibility. Rio Grande is still 20%. I've got 20% for San Julian and 30% for Rio Gallegos. Now 20% for Comodoro Rivadavia. Pardon any pronunciation. Here we go. Which are the mirages? How bad is a mirage? It's a 10. 10. Okay, well, short-range aircraft, likely to get it. Again, I'm more worried about the exoset, so we'll keep the SAS marker there. But okay, good to know. Task force deployment. First thing I want to do is I do want to swap around 2 of these ships between 6 and 8. This was a poor split, as we determined last time. And let me just verify here on 9. We didn't get to that point, but one of these ships will do something for me, right? I got 2 T-21s and a T-42. Let me just verify that one of them's got a radar I'd like. T-42 has a radar of a 6. Yeah, so that's great. That's exactly what I want. All right. So going through the rest of the task force deployment steps, we have reinforcement arrival. This is the 19th, so let's take a look at what reinforcements we get. We do get another T-42, which is pretty fantastic. As a matter of fact, let me figure out what I'm doing with this LDR later. I'll put the T-42 down here. Yep, that's fine. T-42, T-42 in each of those. Let me put the leader up here in the defense zone. We'll have a little bit stronger forward. got a city and a T-21 down in 5. Is that okay? T-21 radar of a 3. City radar of a 5. That's okay. All right. So we have those reinforcements. So that's that part of task force deployment. British submarines are fine. Cap. Yeah. Yeah, cap. I'm still liking this 4-2-2 scenario. Hopefully we'll get early warning on something at some point. Let me just drop these guys, their cap placements. Do what we did before. Okay, and now we'll go ahead and do our supply interdiction. There wasn't anything silly that I've been missing on supply interdiction, like they can get shot down or something. That would be pretty awful if I had missed that. There we go. Yeah, no, they don't have to contend with air defenses. Okay, so now I'm going to have 2 Harriers on air interdiction. Going to roll 2d6 and looking for a 1 or a 2. I did not get it, so no luck there. That's the end of task force deployment. Naval deployment. Okay, nobody's actually ready to go anywhere. So we will move let's see, make sure that I get this submarine into the right spot. Should be roll 13 for that. All right. Naval deployment. Now move our oh, I see. This the submarine was in ready for war. Actually, there is no submarine. What am I doing? Okay, so we skipped the submarine part of the deployment because I sank all of them. I'll now roll my D4 and D6 to see if the patrol or battle have prepared. So here's the D4. Nope. D6. Nope. So those guys are still not ready for war. No Argentine naval presence, so no sub versus sub combat, no British sub, no Argentine surface groups, no Argentine Navy, nothing. So now we'll see if they're going to be running today. So air alert assessment is a 6 on a D10. I rolled a 5, so this is a ball game, and let's start running the procedure. Okay, so done the scramble roll, airbase tasking roll. We'll see which airbase gets this one. This is a roll of a 2, which tells us that it's coming out of Rio Grande, which we have. First of all, it's one that we really worry about, and it's the SES. It's got the SAS team, so we're going to know about this no matter what. Okay, so raid marker placement. And now the Nimrod procedure. So hopefully the Nimrod's got us. This is looking for a 1 or a 2 on a D6. We do not have it. We do have SAS, however, so let's go ahead and do that. 6.2.2. So they are phoning in that the exosets are taking off. SAS team provides a task force with information on the raid's size and composition, but cannot vector the Harriers to engage their target. So we conduct the squadron attack roll outlined above, which is rolling to see how many. Let me pull up the right table there. There we go. They are still under arms embargo, rolling a d10, rolled a 5, which tells me that they get both of the exoset carrying aircraft. So 2 flights of the exoset carrying aircraft come out. We may scramble the Harriers to intercept the raid. And so the problem here is going to be I don't know where they're going. Only 2 Harriers may act by zone at a time. We do note that the 2 Harriers that are placed in the zone must be from the same carrier. And they will remain where they are for the duration of the turn. Okay, so these guys are coming in, and they're coming in with exocets, and I'm going to want to make sure that I have the maximum chance of intercepting these. So I will actually scramble both of the ready Harriers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 1 in 5 to get a chance there. I'm going to put 1 in 10 to get a chance there. Okay, so this will get us probably the most chance at the most attack vectors. Okay, and now we'll conduct the Argentine air targeting roll. So we'll do their 2d6. We'll see that they're coming in at 9, which is right down the chute. Okay. So that means we will get shots off there. Let's hop back to our procedure and make sure that we're still on track. I've done the SAS procedure and I've done the Harrier scramble, and we know who they're targeting. So air-to-air combat. First thing is that we'll get to do the acquisition rolls. Looks like I will be rolling a D8 for these aircraft. They're a little bit more advanced, more capable, a little bit harder to nail down. So I'll roll 2D8 as there are 2 targets. Roll a 2 and a 3. And now each of these aircraft have 2 missiles each, Black 2 and Black Leader. So I solved the all-aspect missiles. So this is going to be now rolling on 4d8, hoping for a 2 and a 3. Those are the only 2 numbers that I didn't roll. Super. So the daggers should have no air-to-ground capability. They're laden, or air-to-air capability. They're laden with some pretty large missiles. So they should not be firing back. Just going to verify this. Let's see. Yeah, the Super Enards don't. Okay, so these guys now go to flown, having done nothing. Thank you. And now I've got to actually look at the exoset procedure, but let me just make sure that we do this all correctly. So that was the end of the air-to-air segment. And now we'll do the air-to-surface, which is 10. And let's take a look at exoset on 10 as well, which is at the end of 10.3. So these are carrying exoset missiles. So I want to make sure that as we do this, I don't miss anything important. So reading through the exoset attack, it's followed the same as the surface-to-air procedure, except if any exoset carrying Antonard survive the first surface-to-air combat round, or if none of the defending British ships engage at a distance of 30, remove all surviving aircraft and place them at the airbase. Okay, so this is going to have to happen at range 30. Place the exoset counter on the combat range. Okay, and the range marker 30, and then the missiles are going to be coming in. And then we will be doing a surface-to-air round against the exosets. All right, well, let's just hope that doesn't happen. So let's start at 10 here with the surface-to-air combat of these aircraft. This is going to happen at range 30, and I'm going to have to loose at these the first chance I get. Okay, so what do I have here? I have, let's see, T-21, T-42, and T-21. All right, the 21 It has a crap radar and no weapon. The Sea-Cat can't get up to 30 miles. T-42 has a good radar at 6, and it can do it 30 miles. So I've got to try now for surface air combat. This is going to be a D10 with hoping for a 6 or lower. Okay, they don't see it. So these aircraft do not see the incoming Exocet-laden fighters. All right, so if any Exocet carrying Entrenard survive the first combat round, remove all surviving aircraft and place them back in Rio Grande. So these guys now have fired their missiles, and I've gone home. Let me get this missile out here. Okay. Place the Exocet counter on the main combat display at the first, in the first Argentine Air Force box. Sure, right there. Okay. And the range marker at 30 miles. So now we'll say that the missiles are now at 30 miles. We'll continue with this as normal, except that the radar lock number used by detecting vessels is reduced by 2. Treat the missile like a raiding aircraft, but with significantly reduced radar signature. Okay, so normally I would detect on a 6. However, now I'm only going to detect on a 4 or under. This is a much smaller thing to try and lock on to. If it's not detected, then in the surface to air combat phase, resolve the raid detailed below. Okay, so I guess we're going to start. We're going to just start by doing detection. So at 30 miles, we will attempt detection 4 or less. Negative. 20 miles, seen to if we're going to detect it at a 4 or less. Negative. 10 miles, we're going to see if we detect it on a 4 or less. Found it. Okay, so we got radar lock at 10 miles, so we now cease this. All right. The outcome of this Exocet attack will depend on the range at which the missile was detected, if at all. To resolve the raid, randomly choose which vessel will be targeted in the normal way, then roll a 1d6. The result of the raid will be determined by the range at which the missile was detected. So we're going to randomly, this was at 10 miles. I'm going to get the cup out. One of these 3, I think I'm actually going to have to repeat this for both. Oh, actually, interesting. So it's just the one. Okay. So the random target selection is one of the T-21s. Good T-21. Take the missile. All right. So one of the T-21s. The Exocet hits on a roll of a 1, 2, or a 3 on a D6. So drum roll, please. 3. Exocet hits. A hit destroys a target vessel. Remove it permanently from the game. So HMS Ambuscade sinks on the 19th of May. Loss of all hands. Let me put this over here with lost British vessels. We will, at the end of the turn, need to do some adjustments for that. But that was bad. All right. The Argentines start the game with 5 Exocet missiles as a demonstration by the placement on the marker. Every time an Entrenard raid is scrambled, reduce this by 1, adjusting the marker accordingly. Okay, so that used one of their existing Exocets. And we never destroyed Entrenard. Okay, well, so that was that. Really it was the pair of them, one serving as a protection as the wingman for the other, trying to take a missile from my Harriers. We lost a ship. So we didn't lose a carrier and we didn't lose a troop transport. That was their job. They did their job. That still sucks. So, and that was the first of the attacks that turn. That was sortie 1. So see what we have next. So rolling to see if we get the next one. Air alert assessment value of 6 on a d10. Roll the 4. We get another raid. So let's see what we have this time. Given that I've already done my scramble, this is probably not going to go great. All right, so I've done the scramble roll. That's happened. Air-based tasking is going to happen on a d10. Roll to 5, which is going to give this to San Julian. I have nobody watching San Julian. So let's see what we have here. Okay. Raid marker placement. This will be 2. Okay. Nimrod, d6. Nope, no Nimrod, no SAS. So this is going to be a complete and utter surprise. So let me just check the no early warning procedure 6.2.4. Figure out where these guys come from. Okay, conduct the squadron attack roll. So this is going to be figuring out how many of them. They are still under an embargo, but we will add 1 to this value given that 1 aircraft to this value given the benefit of the US imagery. So 5 would be 2 aircraft, so this is 3 daggers being scrambled. Okay. So there they are. And then we'll do a targeting roll. So the targeting roll is going to be on 2d6. I rolled a 9. Okay. Oh, interestingly, where's my cup? All of these guys are still here in the cup. All right. So they're coming down the same approach vector as the Atnards. The cap has already been dispensed with effectively, so we're going to skip from air to air straight to surface to air, and we'll see what we have now, further noting that we are 1 ship light in this formation. So 30 miles out, nobody sees anything. 20 miles out, there we go. 20 miles, we do have a lock. And we have a Type 21 and a Type 42. So the Type 21, you can't engage at this range. The Type 42 engages on a D6. And we're just going to go ahead and go with the D6 because I don't want to risk losing them here. So we will do that engagement. Roll 3d6 for assigning numbers, 2, a 3, and a 4, and a 1d6 for the Sea Dart missile being launched. I rolled a 3, so that was a success. Send you home. Okay. As the range decreases, I will roll again at 10 miles. No joy. And now at 1 mile. All right, I have them again at 1 mile. So I will re-roll to figure out assignments, 1 and a 2. I don't know why I did that. There we go. Okay, so I have 1 and a 2, and now I've got the T-21's Sea-Cat missile firing. Again, this was also a D6, so rolling 1d6 for the Sea-Cat. Rolled a 4, so ineffective. Okay, so that's all the air-to-surface missiling that's happening. We'll now go ahead and go to the air-to-surface combat. And again, I've got 2 daggers. I've got 2 ships. So we'll just do them in sequence because they would each be getting 1. Looking at the air-to-surface combat here, These daggers will roll a d10, sinking their target on a 1. So left to right. The first one here. Nope. Second one. No. Okay. So thankfully, nothing happening. And these guys can go back to where they came from. And we have survived the second of the attacks. Back to scramble. Let's see if we get number 3 here. Air alert assessment is 6. Now I roll a 10. We're done for the day. Bloody day. Having lost a frigate. So before we do anything else here on intern, I want to pop over to what happens when we lose a British naval vessel, because that happened. All right. So, combat losses, here we go. Political impact of British losses. Changes of public opinions. If any other, if it's the Hermes, the Invincible, the QE2, Canberra, or loaded troop transport, we drop domestic opinion by 2. Any other surface vessel is hit, we reduce the domestic opinion by 1. So let me very carefully now move this stack of cards someplace slightly not where they are. There we go. And we lose 1 more domestic opinion. Now getting into the not great zone on domestic opinion. Okay, operational impact. If we had a troop carrier hit, then we would lose the attached units. If we had a fleet support ship, would lose a victory level. If we lost the carrier, then bad things happen. But aside from that, nothing else. So that was what happens when we lose a surface combatant. Harrier recovery. Let's get all these guys back to deck. All right, well, we're starting to get some more interesting air segments. We've done all the Harriers. We'll remove the scramble marker, having suffered the 2 scrambles. Oh, and we got to do this other thing here, right? Don't we, on the bear? Yeah. Let me clear the current weather. All right, let's see if the bear 1d10 roll of a 1 is bad. Okay, nothing bad. All right, we'll keep it all going. And that is that. All right. Let's at least do one more turn here. I want to get us right up to the point of the landings. So let's take the next turn, go to 20. 20 May, a Thursday. And we'll see what we have happen here. Weather result is an 8, which is going to be a misty day. Which gives us +1 on our scramble modifier, which is going to make it slightly less likely that they scramble. It's also going to, actually, that's it. It's not all that, that's bad for them, not bad for us. Let's take a look here. Yep, that's it. It's the only thing that happens. Good. Event draw. 22. What are the Italians doing? We need to call in some debts. Okay. What did anybody owe the Italians in 1982? All right, MI6 reports that Argentine intelligence officers are using an Italian bank as a front for their efforts to procure new Exocet missiles on the international market. The issue is complicated by the fact that the bank in question has links to the Vatican. You may A, organize contacts in the banking community to undermine the bank's standing and to sabotage the Argentine plans. The Italian government is outraged at this interference with the international banking system, and international opinion falls by 1. Or we can do nothing and add D4 exocets to the existing stock. We're going to lose a lot of international opinion very precipitously here shortly, particularly as we start to get to surface landings. That to me, honestly, is a more valuable asset than the exocets. This is going to probably come back and bite me, but we're going to give them 1 more exocet. Well, yep, that happened. Okay, just good. All right, so that's the 20th. That was our event. We'll now do the sit rep. We'll move on from the 15th to The 16th, and what do we have here on the 16th? We have, oh boy, that's not useful. Get this off the stack. No, off the stack. Okay. Fighting with vassal. There we go. Okay, so here on the 16th, we are pretty darn close. Error alert assessment is 7. They are very likely to throw everything they have at it. All bases are active, and very high AEA of 4. Now, thankfully, we're misty, so this could be worse. We are close. Okay, task force deployment. I like us where we are. That worked out well. We are 1 shy up front, but I can live with it. You know what? I'm not okay with it. Let me go over all the steps here because we also have to do all the other things. So let me shame on me for skipping steps here. Okay, so reinforcement arrival we have none. Submarine placement I'm fine. Task force display placement. I actually have quite a few up here in the defense zone and not as many in the most likely attack factor. So let me bring the leader back here and we'll have that be how that goes. Okay. What's next? Cap placement. Boy, we are getting to the really exciting portion of this. All right. The problem is with Hermes cycling, all I have is invincible and I only have the 6 Harriers. Things are getting hairy. Pardon the pun. So I would like to spread myself out a little bit thinner. I'm only going to send 3 Harriers up. Do it in a slightly different way. There we go. Leader, I want to try it 3 to stay on. Ship, gold 2. There we go. All right. So this is going to be how I have it. And I'm only going to send 1 into do interdiction. So here's the interdiction roll. Hey, that worked. Supply is now down to 2. And you can go to Flum. Oops, that was not what I wanted to do. Go to Flum. There we go. All right. So that was deployment, naval deployment. What do we have? I got to check to see if they come get readied. D4 for the patrol. Nope. D6 for the battle. Nope. All right. So no navy, no naval, anything. That has already happened. And now we get to what is either going to be a terribly exciting or hopefully a very unexciting error phase here. Excuse me. So flipping to chapter 5 on how this is going to happen, we're going to roll, and if the modified number is equal to or greater than 7, then we stand down and they don't do anything. So I'm going to roll, and if on a 6 or higher, given that we're adding 1, we're done. So, well, it was worth a shot. Okay, so we actually will be getting at least 1 scramble. Let's see how this is going to happen. So airbase tasking for this is going to become 9, which is going to be Comodoro. Of course, I have no eyes on that. Where is that? It's the Mirages. Okay. So given that we've got our very first sortie happening. Nimrods, 1 or a 2. Hey, look at that. The Nimrods came through. Boy, I almost want to save these scrambles for exocets, honestly, if we get them. But let's follow the procedure. So 6.2.1 is our procedure. All right, so we did the Nimrods. That was successful, so we get to know everything. So we'll roll in the squadron attack table to figure out how many there are, noting that they are still under embargo, and we are going to be adding 1 due to their use of commercial satellite imagery. This is going to be the whole coup here. 7 would be 3 aircraft. Adding 1 more makes it 4 aircraft. So all of the daggers I'm sorry, all the Mirages, full court press here. So I know I've got all of them. And I know exactly where they're going as well. 2d6. They're going to be targeting 6, which is southwest here. So I have someone there. And now I can scramble Harriers to intercept. And you know what? I'm going to take it. I've got one there. I'm going to keep a little bit of a reserve. That way I can hopefully respond to some of these Mirages. Okay, so for the air-to-air combat procedure here then, we are going to roll against these. These Mirages are going to be hard to hit. I'm going to roll 4d10 to get targeting numbers for these guys. 2, 3, 4, 4. Okay. So there's our targeting numbers. I still do have my all aspect sidewinders. So 2d10 on this table. 1 and an 8. So 2 numbers I don't need. And what's awesome here is the Mirages actually do get to fire back. So let's now see what happens with that. So they will attempt to target the Sea Harriers, roll a d12 for each Sea Harrier in an identical manner to that outlined above, and then place each Sea Harrier counters. Okay, so I'll roll a d12 for the Harrier. He gets a 5. Okay. And so now I'll roll a d12 for each Argentine dagger. So that'll be 4d12. And we'll see if they destroy it. Okay, so 4d12 for the Mirages. Nope, 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 nope. Okay, so the Harrier moves to flown. Put all these target log numbers back. And we're now going to go to the surface to air combat segment. This is happening here in 6. I do have a T-42 down here. You see, I had learned my lesson. T-42 should detect on a 6, so we'll do our detection here, rolling on a D10. We do have a detection. We don't let them get a little bit closer though, so we'll move it into 20. If I want to get them at 20 or 10, so okay, I'll take it here at 20. So at 20, this shot is going to happen on D6s from the C dart from the T-42. So I'll roll my 4d6 to assign numbers. 2, 3, 6, 6. So 2, 3, and a pair of 6s. Okay. And now I'll roll my 6 for the shooting vessel. Rolls a 3. Okay, so that actually does get one of them. All right. And we will continue down to the 10-mile range. Again, using the 6, the other vessel, nothing there, can benefit from the radar of the better one, even though it doesn't have any ability to fire missiles. Oops, D10. Okay, no joy, actually. So the shorter range T-21 actually doesn't get a chance to fire off. Let me just really quickly verify here that the radar lock is lost, which I do believe it is, that you have to re-roll each of these times, which is part of the decision space. And perhaps this is a clarification, but that's fine. Okay, well, for the sake of keeping the show going, we'll press on with that and just live with the fact that I missed my chance to engage with the T-21. I didn't get an actionable fire track this close in. And so now we're going to go into the bombing. So that was surface to air combat. Now we'll go to. So one of these guys is going to be getting a single Mirage. The other one's going to be getting a pair of Mirages. Mirage attacks on a D10. So I'll go ahead and go into the cup. Okay. So the first vessel, there it is. T-42 gets a single Mirage, rolling a D10. Rolls a 7, it's fine. And it will go back to its place. And the T-21 will actually be attacked by a pair of Mirages, also each rolling D10s. Neither one of them hit. So, thankfully, an ineffectual attack. But a bit scary there. All right, so that is the end of the first sortie of potentially 4. But let's just see if we can get lucky here. So if I roll a 6 or higher, we are done. We are done. Okay. So we'll set turn here to end of turn and save that. And now we'll go through all these actions. So the Harriers will all recover. All right, we got all those guys back. We'll ready those, get these to arming. So the good news is I actually now have a nice pile of aircraft ready to go for the landings, which will be good. Okay, so that's the Harrier turnaround, remove the scramble marker. Let me go ahead and remove the mistiness here. Return that, that sets everything else back. Okay, yeah, we're done. All right, so I'm going to actually resolve the next turn up to the start of the landing, and that might be a good place for us to call it a day. So we'll advance the turn marker here to F, which is the official start of Operation Sutton. Weather for the day is a 5, which is gray. No issues there. We take in a... Oh, actually, I forgot to roll for the Bears. Rolling for the Bears at the end of last turn. Oh, damn it. Okay. Well, we're just going to have a whole host of badness now. Okay, so if you recall at the end of 15, if we rolled a 1, what was going to happen is somehow a bear got damaged that got pinned on us, and it's bad. So international opinion falls by 2, domestic opinion falls by 1. Darn it. So international opinion falls by 2. We now have Soviet satellites that are a thing. Domestic opinion falls by 1. All right, so that's bad. All right. Okay. So that was that. I get to see what the events are before I decide to pitch the American event. But let's go ahead and take our current event draw. Another San Carlos. We'll flip that over. Put that with his buddy. And now the cost of getting rid of the American support is losing one more international opinion, which would actually lift the embargo. And I'm kind of okay with lifting the embargo, given that well, no, I'm not. So having the embargo, it's kind of a complete wash. Having the embargo makes it less likely to get aircraft. Having, yeah, I'll keep the international opinion. This is, yeah. No, I'm not. I'll lose the opinion. I will get rid of this, and we are just now not looking good as far as how this whole thing is looking. All right. So that was the event draw. And that was us trying to do that. Confirming with 6 that that we are still fine. For every day after 21 May that passes without the launch of the operation, we lose domestic opinion. So we are on schedule to do that. So that was our event draw. We now move to SITREP, and what we're going to get from SITREP here is we are now finally at the Operation Sutton card. So that puts us at Air Alert Assessment 8. So they are sending things, very high AAA. They're going to be sending lots of aircraft, and we are in for the fight of our life. So one thing that you do when you draw the Operation Sutton card is you now we're there. The task force is at the islands, and Operation Sutton has commenced. So once this is revealed, it remains face up for the rest of the game, and the event deck is now permanently discarded, though not event cards currently in play, and no further actions are taken during the situation report phase of the turn. And we are just kind of permanently there. So we will draw all of the cards and and discard them. Okay, so we're done with event cards. Put that there, put this, put that close to there. All right. And we'll now place the Operation Sutton marker on the board since that has now happened. We have launched Operation Sutton. All right, so that concludes SITREP. What I'm going to do now, this is a nice break point because now we're pivoting from one sequence of play to another sequence of play, and we've reached the end of about a 2-hour session of here the stream. So we will call this a wrap for today. A pretty active day, a lot of air sorties being generated, a lot of surface-to-air intercepts and air-to-surface. We had to see an exocet come into play and how uncomfortable all those things made me. But now we're, I think we are well positioned for working this invasion. We have all the troop transports where we need them. We have the supply in the islands just really in a desperate state. And so I think it's going to go well. The things that are going to really hurt us here is the opinion. We don't have a lot of wiggle room left on international and public opinion. So this has to be a quick conflict. It really does. And hopefully we can do something about that. We're in a good position from a naval standpoint. We've really battered the Argentine Navy considerably. Looking here, their Terrier cast group is taken out of action entirely. They've lost 2 of their submarines, so we have no more submarine threat. We have lost 1 nuclear submarine and 1 frigate en route, and that's bad, but we're still in a decent spot. We also have lost a couple of frigates, not to enemy action, but just due to political environments, and 1 troop transport along with the 3rd para to take care of some domestic issues in Ireland. And we have lost 1 flight of Harriers due to enemy action. So I think now the game is afoot. We are here, and this is going to happen. So thanks for sticking around and watching the stream. Thank you for coming by. I value your comments and your feedback. So if you are watching this on YouTube, please do leave comments. Of course, you're always welcome to reach out to me on Board Game Geek. I'm Alec over there, and on Twitter and Twitch, you'll find me at AlecMG. And of course, you're welcome to come by and join the conversation on Reddit at reddit.com/r/hexandcounter. Thank you all very much for joining me tonight. I appreciate having you here. Take care, and until next time, good night.